start?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Y'all,
Alright, so y'all are gonna be given your 8 rock samples. Your goal is to figure out what the identity of the rock is and then classify it as one of your 3 types. Mamadi, what are our 3 types of rocks?
Igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary.
Awesome. So in just a second, y'all are gonna come up, grab your lab materials, but first you have to make sure you have your data table set up in your notebook to test for 5 different properties of our rocks. JP, what is our first property we're testing for?
Luster.
Luster. Anybody know what luster is?
No.
What is the difference between, let's say, a diamond and a piece of rock that you find in your driveway?
Rock is rough.
Rock is rough.
Diamond is
No
smooth.
word?
It's what?
No word.
Maybe think about how it looks. How does a diamond look different?
Shinier?
Shiny. So luster, you're thinking about how shiny the rock is. Hardness, we probably are already familiar with. The granularity, what does it mean if something is very granular?
Never heard that word.
What's the difference between sand at the beach and a rock from your driveway?
Like,
All sand is
all smooth.
Rocks are sand is grams, like small little.
Yeah, so granulosity is how ingrained it is. So sand is in lots of different grains, like think of grains of rice, granulosity. Porosity, what's the difference between a sponge and a piece of plastic?
The sponge
the
can
sponge
soak in
soaks
water.
it, yeah.
Sponge can soak in water. What does a sponge have in it that allows it to soak in water? Say it again.
Holes.
Holes. So looking at how many holes it actually has on the surface of the rock, and then also looking at the color of the rock. So to set up this data table, you're gonna have your 8 different samples. So you need a table large enough to record data for your 8 samples, as well as your 5 different properties that you are testing for. So your table needs to have room for how many samples? 8 and 5 properties that you are testing for.
What's the last property?
Color. So we'll have at least 8 rows and 5 columns. Maybe leave some room too at the top for some column labels, or just include it in your table. As long as it works for you. Beautiful, JP. Good, Val.
It's 8 rows, right?
8 rows.
No, not 2. 2 more.
It's most important that it just works for you. Doesn't matter how it looks. Beautiful.
Something explode, yeah?
Where's that? Where is that coming from?
Probably.
So Val, since you're already done, if you wanna come up, you can help me grab some materials to bring over.
Of course.
Wow. Try. You're fine. Flat. Just flat.
I'm gonna grab the 2 kits. Thanks. Oh no.
Oh, yeah.
Is that water?
That is water. What property of a rock do you need you could test with water?
All of them.
The green?
Think about the sponge.
Oh, that would be for rocks.
Exactly. What else could you test with water? JP's been talking about swimming all day. What's something that swimming involves? Does involve movement. What do you need to do in order to not drown?
Float.
Not to look at whether or not it floats.
How do you think about it? Never knew that.
Just have
Point your belly button up to the sky. Pretend like it's tied to a string.
and just be calm. Like, if you panic, you will sink. Just,
I know how to swim.
I don't.
Alright.
So how do you know?
JP,
Exactly.
I know
you're
how to float.
our last table that we're waiting on.
There.
He's done.
Beautiful. So now we're gonna go through testing our 5 different properties, and you're gonna use this information to figure out what each of the rocks that you're testing are, and then figuring out which of those 3 types it is. After you do that, you can then determine which one you're gonna use to actually build this underground shelter, and then we'll be able to figure out where we're gonna put our shelter. But first, we need to know exactly what we're looking for in these rocks, or what properties we want. So looking, for example, at our hardness, if we want our rock to be most desirable, on our graph, what is our top desirability number?
10.
10. So that would mean it's the best one, it's perfect, we can use it to build our shelter. What hardness in Mohs would we need to have a rock with a desirability of 10? A 7. So you're gonna be able to use information like this as you test these properties, figure out their identity, and then which one you prefer for your shelter. So, we've got our handout. You have step-by-step instructions, but like Val just did and we talked about, you can kind of figure out as you go through what you're using each item to use in order to test out your different properties. So you've got penny or pennies, got 2 kits, all your rocks are inside, and they are labeled with a number. I would encourage you in your tables to label the data that you are recording with the number that each rock is. Okay?
Like, we put the number of the rock right here.
That would be my suggestion, but like I said to Mamadi, whatever works for you, I'm fine with. But you just need to make sure that you're keeping your data specific and separate from each other. So, you have a couple different things here that you're gonna use to test hardness, which I would probably test out first, cause it's a little bit more involved than the other ones, and I'll have to grab another safety pin. You have a chart over here that describes to you the different levels of hardness. What can scratch it, what it can scratch, going through and using that to test out your hardness. So y'all two can work through your samples together Y'all two can work through samples together, or you can go this way, it doesn't matter. Do we understand? Okay. So does that mean the glass is harder or your fingernail is harder?
It's alright.
Correct. Ew.
Look at that.
Still scratching.
Which one are you looking at
You
now?
just put your
One
thumb
number?
on. Wow, man, what?
Is the penny scratching it?
Cool, me don't you tell me.
Good plan.
A steel nail can't be the
Yep, that's what we have the subtext for. Let me grab another one. I forgot to mention one of the hardness scales is can it scratch quartz, and that is this extra rock number 13 that you have is quartz.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So for the one that says can it scratch glass, do you try to scratch it on the glass or?
I would say probably on the glass would be easier.
We have 9 rocks.
So this one, number 13, is actually quartz. We don't have any topaz, so you can skip that one.
Can I borrow the cork? The rock?
Yeah, there should be another one somewhere.
Oh, two.
Yeah, that white one. I'll give you a hint, none of them are gonna be able to scratch diamond or be like that close to diamond, because obviously a kit from Amazon is not gonna send you diamonds.
So one is 8. For the hardness. I mean,
Somebody from Amazon got all these rocks.
Theoretically.
this is the flow. Nope.
How we getting that out?
Some paper towel?
Exactly. We're gonna get our hands.
I think I do.
Do it, folks?
No, this one doesn't.
14 snap flips. And what is that? One?
Yeah, no more.
What do you want?
One is not
It's
flip.
your
What's luster?
Let's just drop that out. The rock
Not
there?
have any
Pick it
paper
up.
towels.
Oh.
Ah.
There is one other property that we're gonna need to test, but we're gonna have to do it extremely carefully, so I have not included it yet.
The color is black.
I'm gonna put those.
This is scratching board.
Is that 15?
Oh man.
I mean 14 is scratch. One. Yes.
I'm just gonna draw a picture.
I don't know what I'm
You 40, bro? I'm just gonna draw.
Don't use this yet.
Wow, that's bright side.
Can I? For luster. What's that?
No, Jake.
Not I.
But,
Oh,
so for
You know what?
luster,
I'm
I
so
can put
serious.
it's very shiny.
Hey, he said it was him. He was only one person.
Luckily you have your mask on.
No, that's not.
Why don't you decide on a rock and just work down the list with it?
No, get another one. You could say. I don't want that one. It's okay. I'll just take it. I want it down.
Here.
No, I'm doing
Let me do this with me.
Alright, you're gonna start on number 11. Is it shiny?
11 is considered. Number 11 is technically number.
I have a question. So if you
Seven.
can scratch it, or
14.
Wait, is there 12?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do one of the stickers actually have number 12 on it?
It does
Most of them
not.
not there.
It's
Two.
technically number 7.
will this be like look grainy? Cause like if you actually look at it,
Think about it.
Does it seem like a similar texture to sand?
oh no. Like, after like you hold it and you rub your fingers together.
Okay, then that would be something you could include in that table.
I think, I think 3 gonna fly.
I have no idea.
What about it makes you think yes or no? What do you think?
The holes.
Maybe.
I told you it wasn't gonna float.
I think 7 gonna float.
Right.
7 has holes in it
I'm
too.
scared with this face.
Is it?
I could look at it.
How much?
Now they're all gonna be,
Non-floating, cause that's what they don't do.
Try this
okay,
one.
so then say no for all of them.
Try this one.
For which one?
See? See?
There is one that should float.
Which one?
So your prediction?
It's too baby. Yeah, no, it's not that one.
No, that's just the one you use to help test your hardness. That's quartz.
It's
What do you notice about the color of that one?
It's black.
It's like a doom green. What you see,
So
gray?
you can record that data in your
I
table.
see. Green. Green.
So, burn. I put doom.
So while y'all are working through this, you have this flow chart. First question says, is it granular, like sand on a beach? So if you say no, then you follow down. Does it have holes? Yes. Does it float? And you can work your way down with these properties. And there's one at the bottom that we haven't tested yet. I'll give y'all like 5 more minutes and then we can look at that one together.
Believe
That's what number.
I want you to work on number 7.
But I just got done with number 11.
Actually, you can work on number 14.
I got my paper.
I got the drip overseas.
So isn't everything, every single one's granularity? No.
Pretty much.
So enough for all of them.
Hmm.
So no for all of them.
No what? It would be hard to test something that's granular remember what luster is?
Yeah. Like,
Give me a Jefferson.
if it's shiny or not.
Tweak.
I'm about to put Mama D in charge of this last property that we have to test. Mama D, come grab some gloves.
Oh, paper.
Yeah.
Two.
How many hands do you have? Okay,
What's that, apple?
read that to me, please.
Oh my God.
So, what are you not gonna do with this?
Drink it.
Or what
Pour it
else?
on my skin.
Correct.
Please don't.
What
Nice
are
one,
you
you
gonna
from
do with
Superhero.
it?
Pour it in a cup.
What are some things that you're not gonna, or what you are
Like pour it on a rock.
gonna do that? You just need to be very, very careful.
What if you get on your skin?
Huh?
What if you get on your skin?
It'd probably burn, but
I'm definitely-
you won't be using enough for it to hurt you.
I'm pouring it out. I'm gonna wash
You're gonna create,
Wow,
it.
what's
You're
on
not
my
gonna be
shirt?
able to-
you're gonna create a last column called,
I wish you would've said that.
no, he's gonna be in charge of it, so he can. What am I? Okay. At number 7. This is basically what you're doing, except you're using the hydrochloric acid instead of vinegar. You're gonna create a last column that says reactivity. Or you could just say react and then a yes or no.
Thank you. That makes me all
So if one of your samples is reactive, what do you think might happen if you put,
burn or something?
You're gonna probably
if you
like
do a drop on a rock?
bubble up or something.
Exactly, so that is what you were looking for,
Can we do this
testing this with all 8 of your
You just
samples.
model rock.
All 8.
Do this one.
Or what?
Let me get gloves for everybody.
Oh, everybody's doing it.
I'm about to go put my gloves on.
Leave them on.
I don't participate.
If you would like
I
to,
had a special job. I don't feel special enough. What's so funny?
Oh.
I don't wanna do this anymore.
No. Come on, gloves.
Oh, nasty. These fit y'all?
did it react?
It's bubbly.
Oh my god.
Girl, be quiet.
I've never seen them.
You probably ain't never seen bubbles. I'll take that. Now this is.
Mm-hmm. You tested one sample.
That's all like that. That's all that's enough. It's trash.
What number is that?
I believe
45,000.
7.
I didn't even do 7.
45,000.
I do need to find a paper towel.
I get the truth.
What's the hardest of number 7?
Oh no.
5.
I put 8, 7, 6, 8. 8, 5, 7, 6, 4.
If you need to dry them off before you test that reactivity.
Is that right? Just,
Oh, wow, you did that.
I can't do it.
Just took it out of, like restaurant silverware.
You stole your restaurant silverware.
It's like to-go silverware. give it to you. Any bubbles?
Nope.
So if you're Judy from here right now, I'm just put a bottle on here. That's what I do.
That would be a good solution.
This school security shows, bro. Like, bro, when I go to the front, I just ring on the doorbell.
They let you
And then
in.
they say, "Are you a student?" I say, "Yes." They let me in. I got like 2 shotties in my bag.
All right, let's look at sample number 1. Is it granular?
No.
All right. Does it have holes?
No.
Can it scratch quartz, or is its hardness 8 or higher?
No.
Looking at sample number 1.
Why
That's
is
the item.
none
Yeah.
of my rocks are that good?
Is it multicolored or mostly one color?
Mostly one color.
What is it? Schist.
Shit.
Now you figured out one of your
This thing.
rock samples. So now you can work through with this flow chart that same way.
So,
Shit.
What's wrong? None of my rocks are there.
Always got these.
Oh, wow, they do.
There's, look, how many actually fizz with acid?
Why are you trying to write your signature?
my initials, bro.
Okay, so this.
Alright, let's walk through another one. Momedy, pick a number of your samples.
Can I get a different rock?
7.
Alright, ask your teammates. The first question on the flow chart.
Is it granular?
No.
What number are we on?
Are the grains mostly the same, or are they mix of many different sizes?
So if
Oh,
he says
said
no.
My bad. Does it have any holes?
7, yeah.
Wait, 7? Yeah.
Does it float?
No.
Oh,
So what is it?
That's all.
that's all.
Basalt.
That's all.
Yep. So you'll work through all 8 of your samples that way, trying to figure out the identities of them
All right. So,
as you finish testing your properties.
I'm just dipping them in water after I
That works.
Somebody call me.
Anybody got the rock number 3?
No.
It's in your water.
Oh, so they messed it up.
No.
Anybody got a rock number 2?
Someone's calling me in class. What? Who's who?
Lewis? He said, what? Oh, I gotta take this. Sorry.